Welcome to Unit 8 on Modern Issues and Changes in Religions. This is your last unit, so congratulations on making it this far. Let's jump right in. Here we are in our last unit. So far we looked at a bunch of different religions, so read this introduction to kind of bring together some context, bringing together some of the strands that we have covered throughout this course and setting the tone for this particular unit. Go ahead and click on the study guide to bring you to this page. Chapter 10 is what we're after. Change in religions and new religions. Now that you've studied a bunch of religions, here's a chapter and a unit dedicated to thinking about change in any and multiple religions and new religions that may pop up. We might want to put them in relation to what we've learned about cults. What's the difference between a new religion and a cult? Again, it's not just time and it's not just how many people believe it. But there are certain characteristic differences, and you need to be able to identify those. That's an important lesson and takeaway from this course. Read through this study guide to give some context and connections throughout this entire course. Next up, click the discussion guide, grading rubrics, scan that. Even though you've already done 7 of them before, it's a good idea. Click on the discussion board itself. And the question is, discuss how you can apply the concepts learned in this entire course to your current or future career. How might the learning about many different religions prove to have a positive impact on your current or future career? So this is a little bit more personal. It's not so much about finding accurate information from specific religions, but it should be based on the things that you've learned so far. What information can you use? Be specific. Really refer to things that you've actually learned in this class. And this isn't just a time for you to sort of make something up and invent something that you don't really believe. Oh yeah, okay, I learned all these things really because I'm just trying to get a good grade and pass my exams and get along with this certificate. No. Try to actually genuinely think, how has this affected my life? How is this going to influence my perspective on religions in general in the future? And specifically about this or that particular religion or this person or that person that I may know. There's a lot of people in a lot of different industries that are immigrating from countries very different than our own that have a lot of different cultural and religious practices. How might this help you interact with them? How might this improve your respect or your ability to dialogue with them? And if you have some very strong beliefs yourself and you think that some of these other religions or other views are different and harmful than your own, then how might you be able to spread the ideas of your beliefs to people of different religions? Think, for example, if you are an atheist or if you are a Jew or if you are a Christian, whatever you may be, if you believe that that religion is true and helpful and life-giving and other religions are not, then how are you going to interact with people of other faiths and other religions? How are you going to treat them respectfully while still sharing your opinions and your explanations? And how are you going to humbly and honestly encourage them to share their ideas with you? And how can we interact without being stubborn and closed-minded, but instead respectful and humble enough to admit when we're wrong, or humble enough to acknowledge that we need to grow? These are important critical thinking tools, and they're virtuous as well, and they help us in interacting with people who have different beliefs. Not just big beliefs like different religions, but small beliefs as well. I'm sure you've all seen it in the workplace. Two stubborn people trying to talk about their difference of ideas will result in a fight. But if they're both humble, they might say, oh, you've got to go, oh, that's a good idea, oh, and they present themselves like a team trying to figure something out together. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as truth and that everybody can choose their own truth. What I am trying to say is that together we can work together in a respectful way to figure out things that are true. This is how science works. This is how math works. This is how so many different professions work. And religion and worldview can also work in a similar way. Last homework assignment for this course is the research paper. It's a doozy. It's got a lot of weight behind it. Make sure to read the grading rubric very carefully in this last column. Level 5, that's what you're shooting for, is excellent. Let's go over this quickly, this grading rubric. First off, introduction. The introduction needs to engage the reader in the topic with some form of hook. Think of your papers always as a kind of story, a plot. And in a story, you have some quick initial sort of hook that creates an interest, creates a question, presents a problem that needs to be solved in the rest of the paper, or makes some big claim that needs to be proven. This provides a clear background for the topic so that readers can gain an understanding of the purpose of the paper. The purpose of the paper is going to be to answer this problem, or to explain this reference, or to argue in defense of a certain claim. It creates a question in the mind of the reader that keeps their interest as they continue to read, hunting for the answer that you are slowly, gradually feeding them, kind of like a mystery. You need to clearly present a thesis statement. A thesis statement is a clear statement about what it is you're arguing for. It is a belief, it is a clear conclusion, even though it's coming right at the beginning. It is the conclusion of your argument. The rest of your paper really just points back to the thesis and supports and argues in defense of the thesis. Your introduction needs to provide a clear roadmap for the paper by explaining what is it that you're going to talk about. Give us a quick overview. Give us something to expect. That way, as we read through the rest of it, we won't feel lost. You're giving us a roadmap. Oh, I remember that you said you're going to cover this, and along the way, the reader will know what is coming next. And because of that, you don't know where you are unless you know what's around you, kind of like on a map. If you zoom in too close on a map, you don't know what's around you, and it's not really helpful to look at the map. So give us a map in that first paragraph. Next up, review of the literature, right? The literary review, this has to do with your sources. Name your sources, interact with your sources, critique your sources, explain your sources, give brief quotes, and then talk about how that relates to the rest of your argumentation. Make sure that your transitions are smooth, you have good segues between talking about different sources. Go above and beyond the minimum. Quote them and cite them frequently, but make sure overall that your argument has something new to contribute. Next is the research method. The research method is justified by similar and recent studies and confirmed via statistical analysis. In other words, this is just talking about, in the context of this particular class, is your argument organized? Does it pull from factual information? Does it have evidence that supports the claim that you are making, the argument? Next, results and summary. Some of this language applies more to maths and sciences than it does to something like religious studies, but you can adapt this to this particular assignment. Results and summary, all the data, all the evidence, all the information, the details about different religious groups that you have collected. Is it presented in an organized way? Is it visible? Is it easy to understand? Is it correct? Do you have correct observations about it? And the connections that you see, the pros, the cons, the compare, the contrast, the similarities, the differences, the whys, and the hows. Are you making good observations that are accurate to the information? Do you present and summarize key points accurately? Do you explain key terms, the definitions of certain practices, how they relate to certain beliefs, the overall goal of specific religions? Next is the writing mechanics. This has to do with your focus. Are you distracted? Are you all over the place? Or is every single sentence a support and a progression of your central argument? Do you just try to fill in with whatever random pieces of information that don't really fit into your overall flow and organization? Or is it concise and clear and easy to understand? This also includes punctuation and grammar. If I can't understand what you're saying, then it might as well be wrong. It might as well be like you didn't say anything. Citations and formatting, of course, we're using APA guidelines, and you've covered this before. Citations and formatting, and there are guides with each set of instructions for each assignment. Go ahead and click on the citation guides if you want more information. Now last, this is something that's not for a grade. This is just for our own assessments as a university to figure out how we are doing, and it relates to information literacy and technology. In other words, do you demonstrate the ability to locate, identify, collect, organize, analyze, and interpret data? If you cannot find, organize, process, and argue about data, then that is going to be a severe limitation in future job possibilities. This is an important job and life skill for problem solving in every different industry. The assessment, the best assessment, the learner needs to exhibit an advanced ability to effectively define the scope of research question. Research question is that initial hook. What is it that I'm after? What's the problem that I need to find a solution to? But it's not enough to just have a general sort of question. You need to have in mind some specific criteria. How will I know when this question has been answered? The question has to be specific and clear enough so that it's going to be clear when the question has been answered. You need to be able to access information using advanced, well-designed search strategies such as in the CSU library. You need to be able to not only summarize and regurgitate resources, but evaluate them. Talk about the pros and the cons. Tell us what's good and what's bad about these sources. You need to be able to make your own conclusions. Synthesize what you find from lots of different sources. Bring them together into your own contribution. Are you able to organize them for a specific purpose with clarity and depth, lots of detail, thoroughly answering the prompt, and making sure that you display an accurate knowledge with correct citations of research? Here's the instructions. Now that you're ending your travels with the religious news, you decide to write a 2-page academic paper that showcases your newfound perspective on the world religions and new religions. For this research paper, you will... Alright, before I get into the points, I want to note something about 2-page. It says 2-page academic paper. Now, again, just like with all other assignments, if you submit the minimum length, then expect a minimum grade. Alright, a good quality paper is going to display maximal effort, not minimal effort. So that is in terms of length as well as in terms of quality. We'll see that as we go along in these points. First off, create a cover page. Remember, this has got to be in APA style. Next, explore conflict between religion and science. Is there a conflict? A lot of people say there is. A lot of people say there is not. How do religion and science interact? Now, you might want to specifically choose one particular religion because each religion is going to have a different answer to this problem. And even within a religion, there might be different views on this. For example, if God created the world, then is science really going to be in conflict with religion because the religious will want to investigate what it is that God has created, what systems God has created. Or perhaps a religion is more focused on myth and science is sort of the antithesis of the mythical beginnings of the world. Something along these lines. You can discuss the relationship. It should really say relationship and not assume that there is conflict. Explore the relationship between religion and science. Next, evaluate the importance of interfaith dialogue. Dialogue between Christians and Hindus, between atheists and Muslims, between all these different beliefs. What benefit does that have for a peaceful society? What ways can we team up and work together? Or what ways can we learn from each other and at least be respectful and honest without being at each other's throats and trying to harm each other in war, let's say. Next, explain some of the characteristics of the New Age spirituality movement. All right, New Age is a specific term. It's not just referring to modern times. It's referring to a specific kind of spirituality. Go ahead and explain it. Make sure your ideas are accurate to what this movement is. There's a lot of variety in this movement because it's hardly a religion and more of a movement, a general sense of spirituality that takes a lot of different kinds of expressions, sometimes even recovering ancient Greek and Roman religions of the pantheon or even witchcraft. It can take all kinds of different forms. So explain, what is New Age? What is this spirituality? What is some of the underlying reasons that people are pursuing spirituality? And how does this relate to the claim that we have a very modern and scientific society that does not rely on superstitions? It is interesting that a very, very large percentage of our population consults their horoscopes and discusses spirituality in generalities very frequently. You would be surprised to find out that superstition and spirituality are on the rise, even while mainstream religions, in some ways, are on decline. We tend to think of ourselves as this non-religious, scientific, modernist community, but religion is everywhere, and it seems that oftentimes even those who reject religion end up still feeling the pull of spirituality in various ways. This is often the case in what has become the New Age spirituality, so go ahead and explore that concept through the readings and even through your own independent research. Last, explain the 3 traditional types of change in religion. That's according to the textbook. You may agree or disagree. In fact, I encourage you to challenge some of the paradigms in this book. Of course, you need to explain what the views of the book are, these 3 types of change, but if you would like to critique or give your own view on religious change, go right ahead, so long as it's presented in a clear and well-developed, organized argument. This is a research paper, it needs to be developed. Now, there's a lot to cover, and so 2 pages is hardly going to be enough to cover all this stuff. So if you want to put in the minimal effort, then expect a minimal grade. In the end, you need to follow these other instructions. Your research paper must include at least 2 sources with proper in-text citations and a reference page. The reference page does not count towards the final page total. Remember to follow APA formatting, especially in the citations and the overall formatting of the paper and the title page. These guidelines are important to review along with the rubric before you submit. I encourage you to reread the rubric, reread the instructions, reread the APA guidelines, even after you have already written your assignment. Reread your assignment as well. In the end, we have a citation guide, the CSU online library research guide, and a way to submit writing center requests, as well as a link, how can information literacy help me with the research process. This has got a quick step guide for how to do research. First, identify the information that you need. Second, find the best sources you needed for the information. Third, search your chosen research for your information. Fourth, evaluate your retrieved information. Fifth, use your information to successfully complete your assignment. Over here on the left, we've got details on each of those. Go ahead and click on identify the information you need. And you'll see the first thing is that you need to read your assignment instructions carefully. You can't solve the problem if you don't know what it is. This is true for the class as well as in the workplace. You need an accurate understanding of what the problem really is. A big part of that is figuring out what topic you're required to research in your assignment. How many sources are you going to need? What types of sources can you use for your assignment? And where should you get your sources? These are some overall ideas for identifying the kind of information that you need. What quality? Does it have to be researched, or can it be just opinion? Go ahead and read this carefully on your own time as well. Then we can click on search for information. There's a bunch of different subcategories of this that you should look for. First, start off with these steps. Identify the best sources for the information you need and determine where to search. All right? How are you going to figure out what the best sources are? You're going to have to follow these instructions to help you find that. Select your keywords, right? This is going to be based on a problem. Take a good educated guess at what kind of keywords might lead you to the answer. They are like the breadcrumbs that you follow in order to find your answer. Decide what search strategies you can apply for your research to retrieve the best results. Go ahead and click on Identify the Best Sources. Different sources are good or bad, depending on their age or their quality, right? Magazines are not going to be as good as journals or books. Popular magazines are not going to be as good as academic journals. So we're going to need depth and accurate information. You need to know the characteristics of information in order to identify what is good and bad information. You need to be able to pick it up kind of on the fly, even though you're not a professional on this particular topic. Even while you don't know the answer, you should be able to identify what is good and bad research, what are accurate and inaccurate, what is biased and not biased. You need to start figuring out where to search as well. Of course, you can search the library, the CSU library, and specific internet sources as well. You can click Next for the next step. Select your search terms. These are going to be keywords. Again, this is going to be like the breadcrumbs that you follow on your way to the answer. You can click this video to help you understand how to use keywords with the CSU online library and database searches. But you're going to need search strategies. You're going to need to connect your keywords in certain ways and use punctuation in the right way. Now, as you do your homework, as you do your research and find sources and start reading them and organizing the information, you're going to find new and more specific keywords. These are the breadcrumbs. It's a path. You need to follow the path. Follow the rabbit trail from one clue to the next, gradually searching more and more terms, the next term, and following the argument wherever it leads. As you connect your keywords, you can connect them with certain Boolean terms that can help you in the search engines at the CSU library. Punctuation as well, and then of course you should actually go do your search. Go ahead and click on some of these videos and watch them in order to find out how to do some of those searches and find the information that you need. Once you actually have the information, you need to evaluate it. Go ahead and click on this Evaluating Sources for Credibility video in order to help you more specifically identify what is a credible or not credible source. A lot of things look like truth but are really manipulative and are not true. They're trying to throw you off. Continue on with this guideline here about authority. This PDF will help you as a sort of checklist to figure out what counts as good or bad sources. Last, you're going to have to actually use the information. Now you've got a bunch of information. You know what's good, what's bad, good sources and bad sources. Throw out the bad and start to organize the good into a cogent, clear, developing, organized argument. And as you organize it, you'll find that some of your quality information is not actually relevant to the specific flow of your argument. Maybe put it in a footnote, but you don't have to include it. Every writer and researcher knows that lots of the information that we gather or a lot of the things that we write have to be cut in the end. And that's okay. That's good. That's part of editing. That's part of professional writing. An important resource you should check out is the CSU Online Library Research Guide. This is important not only for this class, but others as well. This might be a confusing sort of layout here, but remember that this is here to help you. Go ahead and read the introductory little content here and scroll down. You can click on one of these in order to find some more information about places that you can find different kinds of help. Research assistance is what we're looking out for. How to find journal articles. That's a good place to start, as well as evaluating websites. That's a very important one. Types of articles and information literacy. Go ahead and click on that, which will bring you to a video that helps you figure out how to find journal articles at the CSU library. Another important one is evaluating websites. This brings you through a checklist of how to figure out if you have a quality website on hand. This can apply not only to websites but other things as well. Different types of articles and how to cite them. You can click on APA citation to figure out how to cite different kinds of sources. Go to the Writing Center. Over here on the left, you want to click on Writing Center as well as Learning Resources and Frequently Asked Questions. We got lots of resources here for you to help you improve your skill in writing. And you can also contact people for specific help with writing. You can also click on APA examples. Sometimes theory and instruction are nice, but you just need to see what it looks like. When you click on that, you got all the specifics about APA right here, including examples for an entire overall APA paper, for bibliography, for all kinds of different papers and aspects of a paper. That's good information for you. In-text citations is another very important one. Go to that page and you'll find an interactive guide with questions over here on the right. You can go ahead and push play to play this video or skip to certain parts. Let's say you want an article with 2 authors or 3 to 5 authors or no author. How is that citation going to look in your paper? Back to this library resource. Along the top, you can see how to find articles, a quick guide for finding articles. That's going to be very nice. This is a step-by-step procedure on where to find the databases in the CSU library. Finding web resources is also popular. How do you find them? Where do you find them? How do you evaluate their quality? What are good websites and bad websites? What can I trust or not trust? Videos will be helpful as well. Remember, this is all organized for philosophies of world religions. Buddhism, Christianity, importance of Hinduism, new religious movements, Confucianism, Sikhism. This is above and beyond our basic content for this course. Go ahead and find some of these videos that'll help you understand some of the key concepts for your research paper. In the end, if you like, you can get additional help by submitting a Writing Center request. Note the office hours. This is where someone can contact you or you can contact them and get some specific help. You got to insert your course number and some information about you and the instructor as well as the specific assignment, and you'll have to describe your specific question or what you need help with in order to get help by email or by phone from someone in the Writing Center. This is above and beyond the particular course, but they will help coach you in writing your assignment and submitting it. Of course, you can contact me as well for some specific advice on each homework assignment and what to include. When you're done with your writing, make sure to save it as a .doc or .docx or .pdf, and you click on submit, scroll down to the dotted line area, click on browse my computer, find your file, go ahead and submit. Well, that's all I have for Unit 8, and thank you for joining in this course. It's been a good journey. Please feel free to contact me anytime about questions you may have about this course, but also feel free to contact me about any questions you have about religion in general, besides things that are connected to this course. Just what's your personal journey like? Let's talk about it. And if you like, you can contact me anytime in the future as well. Some of my contact information is associated with these videos as well as with your units. And with that, I wish you the best of luck in your future career.